Western Canada is facing a freshwater crisis. Experts say pollution, over-extraction, and climate change, of course, are wreaking havoc on already limited freshwater supplies. So, how can we mitigate this crisis, and what type of impact will this have? Joining us now is John Pomeroy, professor from the University of Saskatchewan and the Canada Research Chair in Water Resource, and Climate Change. Good morning to you, John.
Good morning.
I was really surprised to hear this news. Why are we seeing a freshwater crisis in this country?
Well, it's been evolving for several years. We've had exceptionally warm summers and winters over Western Canada over the last 5 years at least, and periodically before that, and some very dry seasons as well. And we went through kind of a bust of a winter over much of the west, where in British Columbia, snowpacks were about 2/3 of normal, and in the prairies, very, very low through the winter until a bit of a wet spring, say, parts of the prairies. But, you know, there's still drought from the Northwest Territories to BC to Alberta. And the higher temperatures have been attributed to climate change, and this is all very consistent with climate change, but coming a little faster than we had hoped. So this is a great concern, because it means we have to adapt very, very quickly now in Western Canada to really perennial water shortages in many watersheds.
When you say that we have to adapt, so let's expand on that a little bit. What do you mean?
It means we have to manage our water differently than we did before. We've always presumed we had an abundance of water in Canada, but we're seeing now regions where, such as BC, was normally water rich, having very low flows on the Fraser, about half of normal flows throughout the whole summer. In the Peace, about half of the normal flows through the summer. The North Saskatchewan River and the prairies very low as well. Anyway, this has been going on year after year after year. So we're going to have to look very carefully at water consumption, making sure we're using it sensibly, and also portioning it in a way that promotes justice and equity across society. And we may have to look at more storage of water through natural means, such as wetlands, and promoting the activity of beavers and others, and in some instances, perhaps looking at how we operate reservoirs a little bit differently, and perhaps even reservoir expansion in certain areas.
What has the role of wildfires? How has that played into this?
Well, the wildfires are really one of the symptoms of the drought. The extremely dry conditions mean that forests can burn very easily, and the fires are very intense when they do burn. But it's really problematic because not just the trees are burned, but the soils burn in many cases, right down to the mineral soils beneath or the bedrock. And this means when rains do come, the stream flows are very flashy. It could result in floods. And it also means it mobilizes lots of organic material and other contaminants in the soils associated with the fire, and that can cause water quality problems downstream and drinking water problems for communities that rely on this. So you get flashy, flood-prone rivers that also have water quality problems after the flooding. And so this is already being seen over parts of British Columbia, and it's something that to expect in the future for other areas as well as landslides. The trees and the vegetation is not there to hold the soil in place, so it can very easily slip and cause landslides, as we saw in British Columbia, Chilcotin River just a few weeks ago.
So I know that we've been talking about Western Canada, but is this a bigger problem for the country? Are we going to see this elsewhere?
Yes, we've got drought right now, or normally dry conditions from coast to coast, through the northern part of the country, and associated with extremely warm temperatures. So it tends to be in the boreal forest area, and from there it stretches from Newfoundland to British Columbia. And of course, those dry conditions mean fires, as well as reduced hydroelectricity generation in many of our hydropower reservoirs across the country. And so the big power companies, Manitoba Hydro, BC Hydro, Hydro-Quebec, have seen this in their power production capabilities being reduced in the last year. So this is part of climate warming. You know, we're in 14th month of record high temperatures around the world, and this is how it plays out in Canada. And it means that Canada is not what we expected in that the impacts of warming are, in fact, quite severe here, despite us being a fairly cool country by global standards. And despite our sparse population, it means that we can have tremendous impacts, say, from wildfires or from floods in communities across the country. And we're seeing this now. And we have to manage our water differently. Water is how the impacts of climate change hit our society. And we have to be more resilient to it, to protect our communities from floods and droughts, and to manage and apportion our water equitably and fairly across the country.
Professor Pomeroy, we appreciate your time and thoughts on this morning. Thank you.
Thank you.
Coming up, everybody.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked this, be sure to subscribe here, or you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.